Everybody, Shalom Aleichem. Welcome to the CHY monthly small business webinar, where we like to bring you important topics of business development to help you launch and grow your businesses. This month, we're excited. We're going to be having a time management class here. So everything is Hashgacha Pratis. We actually did a live event in South Florida a couple of months back. Avi came to it, and we had a little schmooze, and I discovered that he has this time management talent and experience, expertise, and it's something everybody needs. We could all improve our day. Find extra few minutes here, a few extra minutes there. I mean, everybody has their own methodology for how to deal with it, but it's real, and it's important, and we're excited for today's class. Before we actually start, I just want to remind everybody, CHYE, we're here to support new businesses, growing businesses, and one of our primary services is a free business mentorship. So for any of you that are listening that would like to speak with a business mentor to get guidance to help grow your business, please reach out to me directly, or you can go on our website and fill out the mentor request form, and we'll be happy to schmooze with you and try to find you a great mentor to guide you on your business issue, strategy, whatever word you want to use. But so without further ado, I'd like to introduce all the way from Boca Raton, South Florida, Avi Friedman, who, as his bio says over here, has become an expert in guiding business owners on time management. And he's going to share with us some wisdom and ideas. Again, our classic format is it's about a half-hour presentation followed by Q&A. During the presentation, if you have a question, click on your chat button, type the question. I'll be monitoring the chat. If I think it's an important question to interrupt the presentation, I'll do it. Obviously, Avi, if you want to stop and ask people questions, you can do that. But if you have questions and you don't think that they're urgent for the class for the moment, make note of it, and we'll have a Q&A. We'll have a Q&A session. Baruch Hashem, Avi, we're already holding a 26 attendees, which is exciting. These webinars are done as a partnership between the Crown Heights Community Council and funding from the New York City DYCD program. And I believe we have on over here Rabbi Eli Cohen. Are you here? Rabbi Cohen, are you on? Do you
Yes,
want
I'm here.
to?
Yes.
You want to share anything about the Crown Heights Community Council before we start?
Yes. So, first of all, thank you, Rabbi Whitey, for putting this together. Thank you, Avi. I'm really excited about getting all your tips. Time management is one of my weaknesses, so we'll definitely be taking notes. As far as Crown Heights Jewish Community Council, so these seminars and other some of the business counseling is a partnership between CHYE and the Community Council. We're able to bring in some funding to make this happen on a big scale. And some of you who live in New York, in Crown Heights specifically, have been enrolled in our ongoing CHJCC Economic Development Program that provides this funding. And if you would like to get more business counseling or any other services from us, please do send me an email, ecohen@chjcc.org. And if anyone calls you just to get a little information so we can update your records on the official files of the city, please don't feel an intrusion. It just helps us to get the funding. And now over to Avi.
Okay, Avi, the floor is yours. Again, for those of you that are watching, if you have questions during the presentation, post them in the chat, and I'll monitor it, and we'll end with a Q&A session at the end. Avi, the floor is yours.
Absolutely. Okay. Well,
I'm
thank
gonna
you so much,
stop
Rabbi Wordy.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rabbi Wordy, for having me on. Definitely, I actually have used the mentorship program as well. I was set up with a mentor. It was very, very beneficial. So I appreciate the work that you're doing, and as well, happy to share because all these different topics are super pertinent and relatable to really so many different people, especially entrepreneurs. Running a business is not an easy thing. So I'm here today to share about time management, which is an area that I feel very passionate about in a professional way. I'll share a little bit more about myself in a second. But what I would say is just leading to this webinar, one thing that we're going to be doing in the middle is something that requires writing. So if you have, let's say, a pen and paper nearby, if you don't, you can grab one now. It's a fun exercise that I do during the workshops. So just wanted to share that. Okay, again, my name is Avi Friedman. I would just out of curiosity, if you put in the chat or share afterwards, if you ever heard of a time management coach before today, before you saw the email with the webinar going out,
Well, you know what we could do? If you go to the React button on the bottom of your Zoom tools,
that's a better
just
idea. Yeah,
raise your hand. Go, just ask whoever. Go for it.
yeah. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of a time management coach prior to this webinar.
The one thing I would say is years ago, actually, because I wanted to get a grip on time management, I read this whole book, Getting Things Done, GTD, David Allen. It's definitely
Yes,
there's the whole title
absolutely.
on time management.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the truth is, I myself had never heard of such a thing until I went through my journey, which I'll share right now. Actually, my background professionally is as a marriage and family therapist. That was my degree. I went into that field. The reason I got into this area specifically is because I was really having a hard time um, with my own business, my own structuring my time, and it really was a challenge for me to really hone in on um, keeping track of schedules, keeping track of tasks, distractions, procrastination, all those different things. So that's really where I got into this field. Um, and just to get a sense from the crowd, I'd love to get a good sense. If you could just put in the chat like what you're up to in terms of your business. So just so we know who we're talking to, which area of business to focus on. Are you in the early stage or more in like the just getting started? You're growing, you're scaling, you're established. If you could put in the chat just to get a sense of where we are to make sure we're tailoring it towards everyone's more specifically. B, we got early stage. Benjamin, A right there. Got A, just getting started. Bunch of us just getting started. Beautiful. Just getting started. Perfect. C, got someone who's in the growing stage. Perfect. Trying to grow. Awesome. Amazing. That's very, very helpful for again sharing the messaging. So it's mostly in the just getting started to the growing phase and less about the more established and scaling companies, which is perfect. Okay, amazing. And again, also as Robbie already said, any questions you have put in the chat, happy to answer throughout the process. So this is my beginning. So if you, this is actually not a real picture, but this I shared a room with my brother, and if you could tell who was the neat one, who was the organized one. So when I was growing up, it was me. That was definitely an area of my growth, my expertise in terms of keeping my things physically organized. But it was really just because I had that structure built in as a kid. Again, you have the school structure, you have that element. But once I left yeshiva, once I left college, all of a sudden things were all out of control. The amount of times that I called up credit card companies and asked them to waive the late fee because I totally forgot to pay the bill on time. I forgot to put on auto pay. The amount of times that I was um, had 45 reminders on my phone. I was constantly snoozing because I just couldn't keep track of things. I'm like, you know what? I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it the next day. And there are so many different things that we have throughout our life that were really in the adult phase of life. Again, when you're in school, they tell you, okay, hey, make sure you have your paper in at a certain time, or make sure you have this is the deadline. But when you're on your own and no one's telling you when to wake up, when to go to sleep, that really was a big challenge for me personally. And I was really struggling with the juggling. It was really hard to keep track of all of the areas I was working on, including work, including personal life, family, and all of those tremendous things that were really a struggle for me. Um, Actually, let's skip this for a second. Oh, okay. So that all changed when I remember I was sitting at my desk one day at my office and I was scrolling Facebook like every good procrastinator. And I'm like, you know what? There's an advertisement on Facebook of how to stop drowning in piles of paper and how to get organized. I said, okay, great, perfect. As our wording says, based on the Getting Things Done book. And I took that 1 hour class and I was hooked. It was just like a bright moment that came into my life. I'm like, you know what? This is so powerful. They had a program that came along with it. I finished about 20 hours of video in the next 2 days. Because I was just watching it and just learning how to organize folders and files and projects and tasks and calendar and all those different things that really were really challenges for me. And I didn't even tell my wife I signed up for the program, but I remember there's one time that she had asked me like, "Oh, did you pay the car registration?" I said, "Well, I know that the paycheck comes in on Friday, so I have it scheduled on Monday to actually pay it." At that point, I knew like, oh my gosh, this has really changed my life completely. And what happened next, I was watching a webinar where it said, if you can help other people with a challenge that you've had before, it's so much more impactful. And I, again, as a marriage therapist, it wasn't like I was specifically working on my marriage more than the typical person, but I realized, what's an area that I've really struggled with? So this became my passion, to be able to help people with time management, help people that are struggling with distractions and with procrastination and all these different areas that really became my full-time job I've been coaching for close to 5 years, really helping people with this area specifically. And especially as entrepreneurs, there's so much that we're burdened by, especially when we're in the beginning phases where you're really wearing all the hats. So learning how to really juggle all of the responsibilities that we have is a tremendous, tremendous challenge and a great opportunity for growth. So the ask in the chat again. So which feels most overwhelming? If you look through this list, the day-to-day tasks, not being focused, the switching around between different types of tasks, interruptions, procrastination, or something else. So where would you say is the most challenging thing for you um, in your day-to-day for the business? Okay, D, procrastination, interruptions. Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you, Mindel. Procrastinating, avoiding. Awesome. Getting pulled into day-to-day, avoiding. Wow, a big variety over here, right? Because there's so many different parts of our job that even if we go into an industry or running a business or a career that we're going into because we enjoy that skill set, but it doesn't necessarily train us to all the different things that come at us when we are in that phase. A, B, C, and D. Absolutely. So he has 100 things at once, 100%. Perfect. So what we're going to do today is really focus in on really working in on the focus element. Really, because true leadership really requires true focus. Because the reason why we get overwhelmed oftentimes with our time is because we have so many different things that we're working on, all that could be taking place right now. And if everything's on our head at once, then really nothing's on our head. And that's really the biggest challenge that we find hard to actually carve out a focus time, actually stay focused on one task at a time, because at any time there's interruptions that are coming at us. There are clients that are trying to get our attention. There's family members who are calling us, when are we coming home? There are messages and WhatsApp and voice notes and Slack and emails and all these different things that really are taking us away from our true focus. And the truth is, if you have to think about it, and this is a concept I learned from Indistractable, fantastic book by Nir Eyal, is that most of us are really actually distracted, which sounds funny. It definitely is not a typical way of looking at things, but the way he described it is fascinating. He said that if you think about it, the root of the word distraction is traction. Those are familiar with EOS, the book Traction. Traction are things that are actions that we're trying to make progress on. We're actually trying to move towards what we actually want. Things that take us away from that focus, away from that action forward, moving towards the goals, that really is a distraction. And if you look at the typical person, right? If you look at a typical person during the week, during the day, and you ask them, "What are you focused on?" They're like, I'm just doing work, right? I'm just looking through emails. I'm just going to take care of some stuff at the office." If we're not intentional, if we're not focused on what actually needs to get done, we're not focused on making sure that I have a clear understanding of what I'm working on, then in essence, we're not actually distracted from that, because distraction requires, and this is what I work with my clients all the time, the first step that we do is building intentionality, which is, what am I trying to work on? What am I trying to focus on? And a lot of times people jump to, okay, I'm going to have my calendar all time blocked. I'm going to have the hours of 9 to 9:30 working with one thing and 9:30 to 10 working on another thing. And again, in theory, that sounds great, but in reality and in practically, it doesn't work, because it's too much at once. We're taking on too many things at once. So starting small, being intentional with figuring out what is my goal for today? What is my goal for this week? What is my goal for this hour? Trying to take it small steps and trying to say, what is that thing I want to focus on? What am I being intentional about? Once I have that clear, then I could say, you know what? If this is what my goal is, what are things that are taking me away from my focus? What are those distractions that come up throughout the day that really pull me away from where I want to go, whether it's in business, whether it's in our personal lives, whether it's self-care, whether it's for our families, anything that's taking me away from that intention is a distraction. And we'll get into the actual distractions later on. But to first understand that we need to have intentionality before we can have that focus, before we can have that knowing what's taking us away from that focus, because that is the first step in understanding why we're jumping all over the place is what is our intention? What are we truly focusing on? And therefore, intentionally carving out time to actually focus is a critical part of an entrepreneur's day. And there's a client I was working with who, and I can't get into too many details, obviously, but he has an agency that he helps people with in the travel industry. And he told me he came to me because he was about $360,000 in collections of receivables that he had had for his business. Obviously, the stress was eating at him. The cash flow was a disaster. And the challenge was that throughout the day, he didn't have time, or in his mind, he didn't have time to actually pursue the collections for those outstanding invoices, and therefore he was just getting into negative habits and negative behaviors. The one thing we worked on just from the start is carving out a focus time in his day. We started with 1 hour per day. 1 hour. Let me take 1 hour in the morning. For him, it was before his employees got into the office, so it was about like the 8:30 time. When his employees came closer to 10, and just taking 1 hour per day and focusing on that task. And within 6 weeks, he took his outstanding invoices from 360,000 to under 100,000 because he was able to take that focus and be able to say, this is my time for collecting invoices. This is my time for receivables and nothing else needs to happen right now. Again, if there's an emergency, chas v'shalom, okay, that might be different. But barring an emergency, that is my focus time, and I'm only working on that. And that was a game changer for him in his business was being able to carve out the focus time. And we each have different things that we would do in our focus time, different things that we would choose in our business, a lot of different areas that we can focus on. What I would say is try to choose one type of activity or one type of thing where it really requires a lot of focus and a lot of intention, and taking one part of our day and figuring out how am I going to carve out time for that one thing. So this, the challenge that becomes, right? If we have that time, but we want to be focused, what happens to that? Okay, that quick email or that quick text or just respond to this person or jump to this tab. That is a challenge called switch tasking. Most people know what switch multitasking is. Well, multitasking is when we're doing multiple things at the same time. A lot less people have heard of switch tasking, which really is I'm doing one task at a time, but I'm jumping from thing to thing. And switch tasking is a extremely detrimental part of our productivity and our focus because even though it seems like it's just a minute here, a minute there, it actually has a detrimental effect, which actually that leads to the exercise I want to share. So if everyone can grab a pen and paper, and then also if you have on your phone or something else that you can time yourself, that would be great for this exercise. Okay, maybe put a thumbs up in the reactions if you are ready, if you have a pen and paper and a timer ready. Okay, we got 1, 2. Okay. Put a thumbs up when you have a chance and you have everything ready. Okay, we got a few more. Got a couple hands up, couple thumbs up. Perfect. Okay, great. So what we're going to do is do a little exercise here. What we're going to do is there's a sentence here. It says switch tasking does not help, and then the numbers 1 through 24 on the bottom. So what we're first going to do is write out the entire sentence. You're going to time yourself how long it takes to write out the entire sentence. And then after you finish the sentence, then write out the numbers 1 through 24. Okay, so when you have a chance and you have your pen and paper ready and your timer, time how long it takes you to do that. First the sentence and then the numbers, and then put the time in the chat how long it took you. Okay, whenever you're ready. Oh yeah, the instruct when you're in. So you write the whole sentence first. See how long it takes to write the entire sentence first, and then the numbers 1 through 24. 23 seconds. Awesome. 25 and a half. Okay, 30. 23. Okay. Averaging about a 27. 33, 23, 29, 36. Awesome. 30. Good job. 43. Very good. 17. Oh, the sentence 17. We're going to do both together. 23.5, 30. Perfect. Okay, amazing. So it looks like most of us are done with that. If you're still doing it, then continue to do that. But we're going to do now, make it a little bit different, which is we're going to take instead of writing out the entire sentence in one shot and then doing the numbers 1 through 24, we're going to first we're going to write the letter S, then we're going to write the number 1. Then we're going to write the letter W, then the number 2. Then the letter I, then the number 3. We're going to do that the entire sentence. And we're going to say, see how long it takes you to write out first the S, then the 1, then W, then 2, I, 3, T, 4, and then see how long it takes you. Time yourself and see how well you do that. Oh, sorry. Okay, whenever you're finished, right? Actually, if you could write both times in the chat what your first time was and your second time was, that'd be helpful to see. 23 and 40. Very good. 23, 48. 30, 48. 30, 65. More than double. Yeah. 27, 35, 33, right? Multiple mistakes. Yeah, that's very common, especially missing missing a number here and there. That's definitely very common with that. 23, 48, 45. Very good. And if you could write in the chat also, like what was it? What did you learn from that experience? What did you notice? What's something you noticed about that challenge? Minute 34. Don't switch desks. Brain hurts. Very good. Minute 14. A big difference. I mean, yeah, it's true. I had the record I had one person did it was triple the amount of time between the first one and the second one. Yeah. And again, it's something we know the concept. Like everyone talks about, like, oh yeah, we should focus. You should really just put your head down and really do the work. But what really is helpful when we actually see the impact of when we jump from task to task, it really has that tremendous impact on us because we think like, okay, let me just do, it's just gonna take a minute, it's just gonna take a second. I'm just going to work through that. But in reality, because we're jumping back and forth, it really has an impact on the amount of time things take. Things can take double or triple the amount of times as if we were solely focused. Amazing. And actually, the studies are that up to 40% of our productive time is actually attributed to switch tasking. If we were able to avoid switch tasking, again, obviously, um, there's a lot of steps in between going from switch tasking normally to zero switch tasking. It's a big jump. But if we can understand the cost of switch tasking, then if we're in the middle of a project, we're in the middle of a task, we're in the middle of an email we're drafting or a report we're writing or whatever it is that we're doing, understanding that if someone just wants to, let me just quickly look at my phone, let me just quickly open another tab, let me just quickly jump to something else and finish that other thing. If we can train ourselves to understand the impact that switch tasking is having on us, that can really make a tremendous difference in the time that we're doing. Again, we don't want to jump from 0 to 60 that I'm never going to switch task, and that's not realistic. But if we can take that with us when we want to carve out time for a focus slot and understanding that the focus slot could be there's a lot of things we could be working on, but if I choose one thing to start with, I'm just going to do this one task, this one activity, whether it's 20 minutes, whether it's 15 minutes, whether it's an hour, whatever that time is, it's going to save us so much time in the long term of being able to actually focus on that task at hand. And part of the reason why we have the challenge with the focus time is switch tasking, but it's also all the interruptions that we go through. And I'm sure you can, hard to really quantify the amount of interruptions, but even just from since we started, like how many calls, texts, WhatsApps, emails that we've had, even just in the last half hour or so, um, how many things have we missed? I mean, there's constant vying for our attention. Again, whether that is from all the different people that we're interacting with, whether it's employees, whether it's partners, administrators, clients, vendors, family, and there are so many different people trying to get our attention on a daily basis, and there are so many different ways of communication, right? Then it's hard to really appreciate why it is so hard to carve out that focus time, right? It's one thing if we are looking at like, okay, let me just focus, and there's no one trying to get our attention. But truth is, again, we all have families, we all have businesses that we're working on, right? And to understand that this is what we're up against, that the challenge is that it's normal to feel overwhelmed. It's normal to feel like there's so much going on, there's so much floating around because there are a lot of people in a lot of situations, a lot of things that are vying for our attention. Aside, this is even aside for social media and aside for other types of distractions. But just in our day-to-day business, there are so many things that are coming at us that it's hard to really stop everything and say, you know what, let me just focus on one thing at a time. Let me just carve out and block out all that noise to be able to do so. So, and the reason why understanding this is so important, and I'd love to put it in the chat. If you had to take a guess on the average amount of time it takes, that if you're in the middle of a focused task and then you get sidetracked, how long on average does it take you to get back to that same level of focus for that task? There was a study done, University of California. I'm curious to see what you would guess. How long would it take you to resume that level of focus from where you were before? You want to take a guess? 20, 20 minutes. 20 minutes, 20 minutes. Super focus work. 3 minutes. Big variety here. And this is on average. Obviously, there's different situations, different people, but how long, if I'm focusing on one thing, get sidetracked, how long it takes me to get back to that one thing? How long I focused before being interrupted? Let's say a good enough focus that you were 2 minutes, 10 minutes, let's say some 20 minutes. And the truth is, the University of California 43 minutes. Uh, Not 43, but the University of California did a study and they said that the average person, it takes 23 minutes and 15 seconds to regain focus after being interrupted. And again, sometimes we get distracted, like, hey, let me just jump to this one thing. And next thing you know, we go down a rabbit hole. Or next thing you know, we have to leave the office and take care of something. Or next thing you know, you can jump right back in, right? This is an average. It doesn't mean that every single time you get interrupted, it's going to be a 23-minute interruption. But understanding that this impact is not just a one-time impact, like it's just gonna take a minute, let me get back to it. Understanding that it has that capacity to take us on a much larger um, rabbit hole or a much larger distraction than just a 1 second thing, then we're more attentive to that, more intentional with that, then we'll be more careful with choosing, do I let the distractions in, or do I say, you know what, this is my time to focus, let me try to do the best that I can. Getting back to getting to the zone. Right, exactly. Getting to the zone is not the same thing, right? You can get back into task, but if you had a level of focus, especially if it's a task that requires a large, deep focus, to get actually back into the cheshbon is very, very hard. Absolutely. So what do we need to do to be able to prep for a focus time? So this is definitely the biggest key that I work on with business owners is actually creating a space for a focus time. So what things are needed for that? Again, a lot of times there's again closing, unless you're using your email for your focus time, whatever that project you're working on, but closing the tabs, right? We don't need any other distractions around us when we are focused on one thing. Let people know, right? Because sometimes we have employees or family members or coworkers or vendors or clients that this is my time I have between, let's say, the hours of 11 and 11:30 is focus time. Let people know so they know that as long as I'm not interrupting during those times, at 11:30 or at 12 o'clock, I can feel free to call back. Sometimes putting on headphones is good if you're in a co-working environment. Whether you like music or not music while you're doing focus work, again, headphones itself could be an indication that I am focused. Notifications, if you could turn on notifications both on your computer as well as your phone in advance to make sure that you're able to stay focused. And actually picking something to work on. A lot of times we spend time like 10 minutes, like what am I going to work on? Try to do that in advance and try to say, you know what, here's the biggest, most important thing for today. Let me actually take a minute and focus on that. And again, there's questions to ask ourselves are, in general, are my notifications helping me or hurting me, right? Like, is it good for these types of notifications that are coming at me? Do I need to have notification that Uber Eats has a sale on another restaurant? Is that something that's really helping me, or is it something that just constant interruptions throughout the day? Um, when do I do my best work, right? So is if I'm doing my best work in the morning, then have your focus time in the morning. If it's afternoon, afternoon is better. Um, and do I need to see every email when it comes in? Is that really helping me in terms of making sure that I'm able to stay focused and not get distracted by all these different notifications? Um, when am I more or less likely to get interrupted? Is that something that if there's other people around, or that's when you typically get the most questions from clients or vendors or employees, understanding that as well, or family members, that's for sure. And the last thing is that when we are working on a task, understanding there are some tasks that we need to really maintain our focus tremendously. Let's say going through money calculations or something like that. Other times it's start stop kind of work, which is like checking emails. Every email can be individualized, so I can stop at a certain point and pay attention to that. And because the ultimate goal of this whole webinar is understanding that in order to be leaders in our business, we really need to have a true focus. True leadership requires true focus. And that's really the most important part of time management is understanding that when we are focused, when we have time for focus, we're truly able to do our best work. And then before we end, just one of the things that oftentimes happens is we have a webinar, we have these ideas that came up, taking notes or whatever it is, and we say, oh, I'm going to try it all tomorrow. I'm going to try this all later today, tomorrow. I'm going to take it on. I'm going to work on so many different things. Try to pick one focus time slot. And again, if you're not used to having any focus time slot, start small, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on each person. Trying to pick one notification to stop or email inbox closing. Try to pick one tool instead of taking everything. And that way you'll be able to actually keep it for the long term, for longevity, and be able to create that goal and the journey towards being a more focused worker. Okay, and then that's thank you everyone for coming. And this is for more information. If you are going to have a free calendar assessment, if you want to again fill out a quick form of like here's what my schedule looks like, I can give personalized advice for that. complimentary for everyone that's joining this webinar, or just more information in general, you can scan the QR code or go onto my website and see more information. Okay, and with that,
All
I'll
right.
hand it back over to Iwordy.
Yes, you hear me, Avi, you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Great. All right. First of all, thank you. This was very, very clear, very focused. I love the activity in the middle. So what we're going to do in terms of Q&A, we have 20 minutes over here. If you don't mind, raise on the react button, you could raise your hand and I'll just call you out. So this way we don't talk over each other. One person at a time. We'll do some Q&A right now. Sometimes you learn the most. So far, Avi gave the broad, he gave the big idea over here, which is, remain focused, don't multitask, and he gave a very, high overview. But let's try some application over here. Who has some particular questions that they want to ask? Just raise your hand and I'll call on you. All right. So first hand that went up was Mendel Prager. Go for it. Unmute yourself, please, and if you could turn your camera on if you want, and ask. Go ahead and ask.
Yes, Avi, first of all, thank you. Beautiful class. What would you say is the best way to organize your tasks and like, I guess, by level of importance? What comes before the others? Like, I mean, everyone's in a different industry here, but what would you say if you have any tips on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And again, it is a more individualized thing for each person. What I would say in terms of priorities, there are definitely are, and again, there's a famous Eisenhower matrix, like the four different categories of tasks and things like that. The area that tends to get neglected the most are the tasks that are important but not urgent. And that area where people like, again, it's not something that's going to make a difference if I finish it today or tomorrow, but over the next couple of months, if I don't take care of it, then likely it's going to fall through the cracks. And or it's going to turn into some sort of fire that you have to be firefighting about. So what I would say is that, again, specifically with different types of tasks and different type of industries, there's definitely a lot of differences depending on what you're talking about, which I'm happy to discuss more. If you want to reach out, it goes to my WhatsApp. You can be happy to have a conversation. But I would say is understanding that there are tasks that are important but not urgent, and if those are not addressed at all, and because those tend to get neglected the most, I would really try to focus on those types of tasks as ensuring that they happen. Because something that's urgent, chances are it's going to happen. If it's not urgent, then chances are it's going to fall through the cracks.
Got it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anyone else? Raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question of Avi over here in terms of application. How can you apply these things to your daily routine? So hey, I'll actually ask a question because again,
Sure.
time management. Oh, Shiffy. Okay, Shiffy. You'll be next. Time management is it's a real thing for me too. I've run multiple projects and programs and stuff of that nature. Is there a routine to a week that you recommend for? In other words, obviously you want to black out times throughout the week and make sure you have those focus times to do tasks. How do you tell people to plan their week? What you have like a
Yeah,
opinion
so
of how? Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So again, a lot of it depends on again, are you running a company? Are you do you have employees? Are you on your own? Are you running multiple? How many different companies or businesses or industries are you working in? So obviously, there's a lot of nuance in there. But what I try to do to encourage, especially with people that are coming in for the first time and trying to fine tune or just build a system for time management, is think about it as like a theme of the day. So let's say obviously there's a lot of things that we can do. Each day there's a lot of different tasks or projects we're working on throughout the day. But what's helpful is again batching those tasks together. Can you're maintaining your focus on one specific kind of task or one specific area. Like I was working with someone recently who was struggling with. He's trying to do outreach. He's also trying to build his website. He's trying to take a course. So all these different areas of his business, he's in the starter phase. So we talked about having a theme of the day. Like it doesn't mean you can't do anything else during that day, but like Monday is my day for doing research. Tuesday is my day for working on my website. Wednesday is my day um, for working on for additional outreach or taking a course. Like having a theme of the day or even the theme of that chunk of time, in the morning or afternoon, is a great way to start as well.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Shiffy, go for it.
Hi, thank you for your time.
Sure.
my issue is like this. I tend to multitask because I have so many responsibilities between running my home, running my business, and everything in between. So I'll have a load of laundry going, I'll put up a pot of soup, and then I'll go sit and do some emails. And while I'm working through my emails, the timer rings because the washer needs to move to the dryer. And then, then I go back to my emails to get into the groove. And then the other timer's going off because the soup or something's in the oven. And now I'm spinning in circles. It's very distracting. And like you said, it's hard to get into the groove of things. On the other
Right.
hand, when are all these things going to get done? There's only so much I can delegate. I can't buy takeout that often. It's just not, I don't want my kids eating takeout all week long. We need
Right.
clean clothes. At a certain point, you just run out of clean clothes. I can't delegate everything to the dry cleaners. Like at a certain
Right.
point, so much can be delegated and outsourced and it has to get done. I don't want to be up at midnight moving things to the dryer.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
there's only so many hours.
So for sure. So I would say is, again, when it comes to, and that's one of the things we talked about in the middle, which was there's different types of tasks. There's focus tasks and there's like start and stop kind of tasks, right? So when it comes to, again, I'm not sure what your industry or your business is, but there are certain types of things that are more like I need to spend 30 minutes just like looking at this report, or I need to spend a certain amount of time really working on different elements. And then there's other types of tasks that, again, like checking emails is something which is, in theory, you can start and stop in it and during emails. So when you have a lot of things going on in the background, I would say to find a time where you're not going to have things in the background, maybe like that half hour, whatever that time is, to focus on like focus type of tasks. But when you have a lot of juggling in during those times, have that time allocated towards like the things that don't really need a true focus. Again, like email as an example. So that way you don't have to worry about like I'm trying to write this report and all of a sudden like there are these 5 different timers going off. It doesn't seem as interrupted because it's not debilitating by having those interruptions.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll take a final question. Goldie has raised her hand. Goldie.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I actually dropped my question in the chat. I don't know if you want to read it.
But no, go. I just tell us already at this point. Just read.
Okay. So I work from home. So I find it hard that morning transition from like the kids leave, okay, finally house is quiet, and then getting into the work zone. It's like a very find the transition takes me time to like settle into my work day. Once I'm settled in, I'm good, but it takes me like a good 45 minutes to like get into it. Like, is there a good like tactic? Like, it's like switching, I have to switch gears.
Right. Yeah. So I would say that it's a great question. And again, anyone that's working from home has again understands that again, if you have the same location for personal and for business life, it's definitely a complicated in that regard. One, well, just I guess the question is, do you have a dedicated workspace in your house, or you're just like a dining room table kind of?
No, I have a regular desktop. I don't work on
Okay,
a laptop.
got it, got it. And that desktop is used just for business, or it's for personal also?
No, mostly business.
Okay, got it. So what I would say is when it comes to transitions, and you're trying to transition from personal time to business time, first step would be to give yourself grace because it's hard to switch like that. Like you can't just like switch hats immediately, right? Again, sometimes there's a lot of like, okay, the kids are out of the house, but now there's like a little bit of cleanup to do, or there's dishes to wash, or like there's things that I want to, let's say I want to eat breakfast or daven, or like those are different things that happen during that time. And if we don't have any time allocated towards that to add to any sort of transition, then again, a lot of it builds resentment for ourselves. Like, why can't I just get myself to work? There are ideas in terms of like transition activities that you can do. Let's say, I know some people that I myself actually, so when after the kids go to school, I go take a walk and then I come back and I start working. Or it could be taking a walk, it could be eating breakfast, and then like, okay, this is my time to get a little bit of like a breather from that morning rush, and then I can start the business. So I would say to understand that it does take time to get from one hat to another that you're wearing, and think about what are activities that you can do during that slot that are like unwinding in a way from the morning rush, but also, and is it like, do I want a 10-minute buffer? Do I want a 20-minute buffer? What is that for you? That can help with that.
Thank you. That's very helpful. So basically
Okay.
finding my transition activity.
Right, and understanding that it's not going to expect, if we have an unrealistic expectation that I'm just going to switch gears like that, then we lead to disappointment. But if we
Yeah,
say no,
it
it's going to
doesn't work.
exactly. But if we go with the understanding, okay, I need 10 minutes to transition from one thing to another, or 20 minutes, whatever it is for you, or it might depend on the day. Just go in with that and try to plan accordingly.
Thank you so
All
much.
right, there's another question that came in over here. Somebody just asked. Yoni Hellman. Yes, what are the signs of being spread too thin? Yoni asks.
Signs
But
of being spread too thin.
Yoni, do you want to unmute yourself and explain what you mean by that?
Exactly how it sounds. Just what are the signs of being overwhelmed or something like that? Meaning, I have several things I need to take care of the house, and I also have a home office, similar to Shiffy's situation. How do
Mhm.
I realize like I'm personally scattered in general when it comes to doing multitask, but I need a multitask. I need to go into the kitchen. I need to go back to work. I need it. When do I know? Okay, 1 second, timeout, break, reset, etc.
Oh, meaning within the day-to-day routine, or you're talking about in general, I'm taking on too many projects, I'm in too many different like
Within the
jobs.
day-to-day routine, not the amount of projects. The amount of projects won't cease. They're not projects. They're life.
Okay, got it. So what I would say is within a day-to-day, trying to the time frame I believe that studies have shown is about 90 minutes is like our max pure focus time that we can really allocate towards specific and being productive. I think again, I would say up to 2 hours at a time without taking any breaks. I remember I was working with a client who told me like, yeah, I work from let's say 9 to 5. I have that time open, um, and then I find myself distracted all the time. And I said, well, the truth is if you're not giving yourself any time for breathing room, and if you in your mind you're telling yourself that for the next 8 hours I'm not going to be, I don't know when I'm next looking at my phone, or I don't know when I'm next going to eat lunch or take a break or take a snack, then our mind is like, oh, I don't know when it's going to happen, so let me just get at that break as soon as I can. And what happens is that's why a lot of times distractions are they creep up throughout the day because we don't have time allocated towards unwinding, taking a break, etc. Like a classic example, if a teacher's in a classroom and tells the kids, okay, and the kids don't understand, let's say, the concept of time, they say, okay, we're in the middle of class, the kids are all asking to go use the bathroom, then okay, you can't really explain like no you can't go right now, but if you tell them class is over in 5 minutes or class is over in 10 minutes, it's much easier for them to understand that and to be able to say, I can wait 10 minutes. So similar with the break, if we have things that are distractions are coming at us and I know that it's been an hour already, and I know that okay, I'm trying to aim for let's say an hour and a half amount of time, saying okay, I have 20 minutes left or I have 30 minutes left, let me just take care of this one other thing and then I can go take a break and then I can do the other things. It's very reassuring for ourselves in those moments.
If I could play it
Okay.
back in my own words, that would be schedule your distractions.
Right. Schedule your time for unwinding, taking breaks.
Thank you.
And it doesn't have to be like on the clock. Like it doesn't have to be like 11:02 to 12:32. It's more of like, here's an hour and a half. I want to spend the next hour and a half doing it. And again, is it an hour and a half? Is it an hour 35 minutes? An hour 25 minutes? Um, I wouldn't structure too rigidly.
Thank you.
Okay, we have 5 minutes left. That gives us an opportunity to answer one more question. Is there anyone else that would like to ask a final question before we sign off? Um, someone, what, how do we treat? I can't read what you're. You want to? You just unmute yourself, Shmuel. I don't know. I'm not so sure why you. Okay, does Shmuel, you want
A
to explain
Pomodoro, how we
what?
treat the Pomodoro method? Is that the question?
I guess so. If you want to, I don't know why he chose to. Yes.
Pomodoro, yeah. So the Pomodoro method is a method that was created. I forgot the exact studies or what shifted, is that we work best on a like a 90-minute time frame. And what the Pomodoro method is that you take a 25-minute at a shot. You do 25 minutes, 5-minute break, 25 minutes, 5-minute break, 25 minutes, 5-minute break. And those breaks are not meant to more just like go find a distraction to work on, but really more to like take a breather, step up away from our desk, take a breath of fresh air, go outside, and come back and re-energize for that. There are definitely studies about that show it has incredible effects for a lot of people. Again, it works for some people. It's more challenging for other people that if their 5-minute breaks become 50-minute breaks, so then I would dissuade that. So it definitely is a scientific method for staying focused and doing tasks at hand. I believe it's either 90 minutes or 2 hours. I don't remember exactly which one, but along the same lines of that 90-minute to 2 hour mark is really our max capacity at one shot.
Okay, final question from Bent. I'm in sales and sales keep on coming while doing tasks. How should we handle this?
It's a great question. So I would say is again, depending on if there is a pattern for sales coming in, meaning do you find that sales are coming in between the hours of 10 and 3? Or do you find that it's then maybe during those hours of 10 and 3, doing focus work may not be the best thing. You might want to do, let's say, 9 to 10 or 3 to 5 or whatever it is for you. That's just one thing to keep in mind is, again, you can't control when sales come in, but if you see a pattern that they're coming in during this time or they don't typically come in during lunchtime, that might be something just to look out for that. And in addition, when it comes to sales specifically, again, there is that element of I need to really jump on the sale immediately because otherwise I'm going to lose the deal. At the same time, if let's say you were in the meeting with your supervisor and you got a call from a client, I doubt, unless it's a certain kind of company, I doubt they want you to interrupt the company, the CEO, to interrupt for a sales call. So keeping that in mind, if you're having focus time for yourself to be able to get work done, if you say I'm going to work focused for the next 3 hours, yeah, then you're not going to be able to answer the sales calls in an efficient way. But if you say I'm going to keep the next 20 minutes focused on a task at hand, even if I call the person back after the 20 minutes, that would be there's nothing wrong with that unless your job requires it for some reason.
Okay, this was great. Thank you very much, Avi. Very informative.
Absolutely.
Great Q&A. Everybody once again, CHY is here to support you on your small business journey. If you need a business mentor, just reach out to us, chy.info. We'll keep you posted on the next webinar. Our webinar series is once a month. So look forward to seeing you all again. Have a wonderful day, Avi.
If someone wants to reach out, it goes to my WhatsApp with QR code. I'm happy to answer more questions if anyone has additional questions for that.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
Take care, everybody. All the best.